I spent all of 2024 researching UFOs, and here is what I found. We're going to do this in month order, showing images, giving commentary. I want to say hello and welcome to everyone catching this live and those on replay as well. Hi there. Let's get straight into it because we have honestly a lot to cover. I'm going to go again in order, starting off with January. This is when Jeremy Corbell released this jellyfish video, these still images, and that's where all the debate started. Originally, from what we know, this image was recorded back in 2018 through a thermographic forward-looking infrared radar camera, and it was taken over in Iraq. Now, there's been a lot of heat on this video. Is it real? Is it not? And it's no one really has an answer to this. I've spoken to a lot of people that have had very mixed opinions on this, even to those such as the MUFON investigator Bob Spearing, who went into great detail. You can find that interview on this channel, and he talks about it and his viewpoint. But this is how we started off the year of 2024. This was released in January 22nd, and I feel like overall it was a positive way to start it, of like just talking about UFOs. The media grabbed onto it instantly, and it was really interesting to say the least. And I'm so glad that you're able to catch alive. Hello, 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 Earthling, says Max as well. So cool seeing so many people getting involved in the live chat. You guys are so awesome. Now we're getting into February. January, we only got this one beautiful thing. Then, oh, it's another image of it. But now we're getting into February. I'm talking about this guy. Who the heck is he? Well, he's Inspector General Storch. And so the Department of Defense's office of Inspector General released an unclassified summary on January 25th. However, we didn't see it until February, of other previously classified reports from August that evaluated the DoD's handling of UAP, and the report revealed that the DoD lacks a comprehensive, coordinated approach to UAP incidents, with different military components developing various processes for collection and analysis, which could potentially pose risk to military forces and national security. So then, Inspector General Robert P. Storch emphasized the release's importance for, to guess the word we're going to use, transparency with the American public, while the report made 11 recommendations to various defense departments, including the creation of an overarching UAP policy to integrate roles, responsibility, and coordination procedures across military branches. I do want to state that almost all the things that we're mentioning, actually, no, everything that we're mentioning here, those links are not going to be in the description box below because there's so many. However, they will be embedded in the article that I will write about it, which you can find on my website at ufonews.co. Bookmark it, as it doesn't only cover articles that I write about UFOs, but also anywhere where the word UFO is mentioned across the media. You can find it right there on my website, as it is an aggregate. So you want to stay up to date on UFO news, that is the place to do it, ufonews.co. And here you can find the website that came from the DoD talking about this. So even though it was mentioned, it came out in January talking about reports from August, we didn't get it until February, in the sense like it wasn't made public. And then on top of that, this is another very interesting way that the year started, because this was before the Schumer Rounds Amendment, before all the talk of the UAPDA. And it was also emphasized by Elizondo and a few others, mentioning that there isn't really this one department, this one location that's collecting all this UFO information. You would think it was the Aero office, but Aero has to talk to every single department, at least according to last year. They had to speak to every department to get that information. And could be very easy for the DHS, the CIA, the FBI to say, hey, I actually don't have any news. I don't have any data on UFOs. Now, Robert Storch was stating, we need this one location, this one archive that everyone can throw in their information, which really paved the way for, in my opinion, the rest of the year. And that's why it's so important just to touch on this. But also, what happens in February is the Super Bowl. You love it or hate it. You usually watch it for the commercials, unless you're a huge football fan. This year, there was the most UFO commercials. And here's a screenshot of almost all of them. There's only one that's missing. But the prediction of the amount of people that watched the Super Bowl this year in February was about 112 million. Now, what I found interesting is that out of all of the commercials, which by the way, they spend millions of dollars to get their commercial in front of the Super Bowl, we have 5 of them, really 6, that touched on, spoke about, or highlighted UFOs. So we have the Squarespace commercial with Martin Scorsese, which is this one right here where my mouse is. Then you had the Oreo, they had their own commercial made by the Martin Agency, which is this one right here. Then you had the Apartments Net, took up like full on aliens looking for apartments, which was wild. Then you have the Mountain Dew commercial talking about the Baja Blast, which remember that because we're going to touch back on Mountain Dew a little bit later in the year for this video. And then you also had the TV show So Help Me Todd that's on CBS, where Todd mentioned and aliens. And then she's like, what? Aliens? It's like, oh, wait, never mind. Not aliens. Overall, out of all the years where the Super Bowl has taken place, there has never been this amount of UFO commercials, UFO coverage. And one reason is that it's very trendy. Right now, go to the store, you will find UFO merch everywhere, alien merch. It's just the new cool, which, hey, I respect that. I love that actually. So maybe that could be a reason to why they were pushing the commercials this year. I'd like to see what they have in store for next year. In this case, in the next 2 months, if there will be more UFO and alien commercials compared to February of 2024. But I mean, when I was covering this earlier this year, I found it very strange. I was thinking, what? This is why are you covering this at this extent, right? Why so many commercials about UFOs? And while we're still on the topic of American football, talk about these 2 guys right here. One of them is Baker Mayfield with the Cleveland Browns. And he reported seeing a bright circular object descend to the road and then vanish while driving near Austin, Texas back in March of 2021. But Cristina, why are you mentioning it now? Because he stated it on a podcast called Pardon My Take back in July of 2024. Then in November of 2023, Raiders player Andre James, this guy right here with the white jersey, along with other players and crew members, witnessed strange lights during a team flight that reportedly changed size and moved in circular patterns for about 20 minutes, an experience he shared on the teammate Max Cosby's podcast. Now, both these incidents garnered significant attention, with Mayfield's sighting leading to rather humorous reactions, including jokes about aliens visiting Whataburger, while James' encounter was reportedly captured on video and corroborated by multiple witnesses on the flight. Both of these guys shared their experience this year, throughout the year, even though they took place, one of them in 2023 and the other one in 2021. This is significant for 2 reasons. First of all, these 2 guys have huge audiences. Okay, there's people out there that love these guys. They love these players. They even bet on them. So for them just to share, be public about their encounters, it gives courage to their listeners, their fans to say, hey, if my idol, if my person that I place in a high pedestal can talk about this, that means I can too, or that means there is something to it. So I think that's definitely one of the biggest takes. But on top of that, I would say in 2024, it's definitely been the most talked about conversation compared to previous years from my knowledge alone, where we're getting a lot more celebrities, a lot more athletes, those that are pretty high up there, both with credibility and celebrity status, talking about it. Another one was Cabela Cabello. She's a singer who also spoke about her encounter earlier this year as well. And it just really seems to be like this trend going on here, which I'm okay with. The question is, are you okay with it? Do you like seeing your athletes, your celebrities talking about this? Or do you feel like, no, no, this is my topic. This is not your topic? Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the live chat as well. Teresa says, excellent point. It gives everyone else the courage to speak up. I really agree with that. I think those that have these huge audiences are able to talk about this more openly and to just influence, that's what they're called, influencers, right? To influence their viewers, their listeners, stating, hey, it's okay. We didn't really have these kinds of outlets to this extent 10, 20, 30 years ago, before it was the radio, before it was the mainstream media. Now, everyone can have a podcast. Now, everyone can have a channel and talk about these things, giving people this sense of like reverence, either amongst their social groups or inside of themselves, which is I'm really enjoying seeing that happen out in the open. Moving on to March, and this one gets on my nerves just a little bit because in March, that was the first time we heard about Canada's Sky Project. Now, what is this? It is the equivalent of Canada's Aero UFO office. This took place, well, we first knew about it in early March, even though they were doing their investigations back in the fall of 2022. And they had mentioned to the world, they were like, hey, we're going to have a UFO report by the fall of 2024. Baby, we're in the winter of 2024. Where's that report? This morning, I went on to their website to see if there's been any updates since that last comment in March. And we got nothing. Absolutely nothing. But I did take a screenshot from their website, and you can read it on your own time. I'll give you a summary on it of what they are and what they're doing. So, as I had mentioned, the project was launched back in the fall of 2022, studying UAP reports from the public are managed in Canada, and they were recommended for improvements. Now, the Office of the Chief Science Advisor will focus on the Canadian process for capturing and treating UAP observations. Now, this Canada Sky project supports citizen science and aims to facilitate the collection of observation, documentation, documenting rare natural phenomena. So we're dealing, I mean, already off the bat, that sentence is saying, hey, we're looking at weather phenomena, right? That's when it says rare natural phenomena, you can take a guess on what they mean there. But what's interesting here is that it aims to optimize the data of all UAP observations in a transparent manner to find all these competent experts. As we continue, it sounds more and more like Arrow until you get to the very bottom of this report, right here, where they literally bring up the Arrow office. They bring up the NASA UAP study office, which was a joke when we got that media briefing in September of last year. But I was shocked to see the Galileo project also incorporated in this. Something that I need. I have to say, and I say this all the time, but I got to say it again, and I'm getting ahead of myself, but that's okay, is when we received the Arrow report in March, which we're in that month now, going in chronological order. The Arrow report says, hey, all these international UFO offices agree with the Arrow office. They agree with the United States that there's nothing to see here. We're seeing that with the Canada Sky Project based off of this screenshot from their home page. Like, what's even the point, right? At this time, where we already know what the answer is going to be. Of course, I was still and am still optimistic for this report that we're meant to get from Canada. But I think they are taking the example from the United States of always being late and never giving a report on time. So you might not get a report until next year, or maybe they're hoping that everyone forgot about it and that we're never going to get one. Either way, I'm a little upset about it. Canada, get your stuff together. Actually, for every country, get your stuff together when it comes to UFO news, data, and analysis, okay? And Voodoo Tube, it's a fun name. Thank you so much for the super sticker. It says, thank you for your work. You are appreciated. Right back at you. All those that are catching this live or just watching these shows, I appreciate you. Thank you. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel as I do several shows a week right here covering UFO news, UFO updates, interviews, case studies, and more. This is your UFO news source. So make sure to subscribe and hit that like button right down below. And then hello, Colin from Dubai. Great to see you. Happy upcoming New Year, y'all. Well, you know what? The live stream for the Christmas show went so well. And I feel like many people really appreciated just having someone to hang out with on Christmas, that I will be doing it again for New Year's Day. It'll be a live stream. It'll just be very fun, very relaxed, just us having a good time. You don't want to miss it. So hit the notification bell so that you can join the live stream on New Year's Day. Now, getting back into our chronological order of what's going on over the last year when it comes to researching UFOs. And this one might be my highlight. And that is the Roswell police. They got a new patch. After 30 years of having their lame old patch, they got this new one where they are highlighting the Roswell incident back in 1947. It says, protect and serve those that land here. And they got like little alien heads on each side. And I have mine. Look at that. Let me put it up bigger. Look. Mine's a sticker. It's not a patch, but it's still so cool. Like, I don't want to stick it anywhere because I want to treasure it forever. If we look at this image, it's also very cool that in the letter R, it's a UFO. Whoever created this did an amazing job, really highlighted some of the best features about Roswell. And now the police force in that area have these patches on their uniform, and I want one. It's just so great. And thank you everyone for just being so fun in the chat over here. But we are on a mission. We're going through these. Then we finally got our Arrow report on March 8th. I know it says March 6th over here, but the public did not receive the Arrow report until March 8th. And it was volume 1. It's a 2-part report talking about all of the different UFO offices that have taken place from Project Saucer all the way to Arrow. We're looking at 1947, 48, all the way until 2022. And the overall consensus on this report that we received from Arrow is, hey guys, even though we've had all these offices over the decades, all these projects, all these papers written, there's nothing to the UFO phenomenon. It's pretty explainable, and really that's it. This made no sense. Actually, I felt like it was an oxymoron getting this report, because if you're getting one project after another. Project Sign, Project Grudge, Project Saucer, Project Blue Book, Project, and then you had the Arrow Office, the UAPTF, the AOI MSG, and the list goes on and on. And you're telling me that the first office, the first group, maybe until the second one, got the answer? Why did you keep making them? Why did you keep funding it? Why did you keep hiring people if you already have that information? Nancy Mace made that very clear in the latest UFO hearing we received just a few months ago. And I felt like this report that we got from Arrow didn't really make sense on their standpoint. Maybe they were trying to look transparent, but the transparency on one side didn't really help the other side of like, oh, but there's nothing to see here. It's a walking oxymoron. It doesn't make any sense. However, in this report, and I have the quote here because I think it's so valuable. And that is, it is worthwhile to note that all official foreign UAP investigation efforts to date have reached the same general conclusion as the USG investigations, which says, nothing to see here, that I mentioned a little bit earlier. However, there was one big highlight from this report that caught people off guard, actually. And that was the Kona blue that was mentioned. People were like, what on earth is this? What the heck? And it took the UFO internet by storm. Kona Blue was a proposed 2011 DHS special access program intended to expand on ATIP's work by studying recovered anomalous aerial vehicles, or AAVs, including plans for data collection, consciousness research, and medical studies with the involvement of the Bigelow Aerospace Advanced Space Studies. And then, though briefly approved, the program was canceled after 6 months before receiving any materials or funding, with the reasons for its termination remaining unclear. This is what we had to end up finding out after this report was released and after FOIA requests were submitted and we received that information, because there was really nothing on Kona Blue until after March of 2024. And this is very interesting. Elizondo has spoken on this as he was part of ATIP, and they were the ones that really wanted to bring on the responsibilities of Kona Blue. But it was approved and then terminated very soon after. One of the biggest things to mention here is that it wanted to research consciousness, and then it wanted to just continue doing data collection on UFOs, or in this case, they were classified as anomalous aerial vehicles, or again, AAVs. So it was really branching out from the typical like nuts and bolts ideas and projects to like consciousness, maybe some remote viewing, and all of these different things. While we're still in the month of March, I told you to remember the Mountain Dew, right? Well, they did something very interesting on Alien Abduction Day on March 20th, and their ad says this: beam us up. Hard Mountain Dew is coming in peace just in time for Alien Abduction Day on March 20th, as the brand aims to become the first beverage abducted by aliens. That's right. Hard Mountain Dew is offering our alien visitors an example of peak human innovation, guaranteed to get us on their good side. An entire pallet of the newly permanent Hard Mountain Dew Baja Blast Mix pack. And to top it off, we're live streaming the whole thing. They did live stream it. I was one of the 4 viewers that was watching the live stream. And then March 21st first comes around and they delete the stream. They were like, man, this was so embarrassing. Nobody watched it. Only 4 people, one of them being Cristina Gomez. We're not going to keep this stream. So they bailed and they deleted it. And I was actually sad. I said, man, I should have gotten some screenshots while it was live, because I was really expecting that the stream was going to be there the next day so I could go forward and back and fast forward and all these different things. I couldn't do that. I was sad there. And did their Baja Blast get abducted? No, it did not. But I mean, like, it's do you like Mountain Dew? Before I even put it under some bad light, I will, for your sake, do you like Mountain Dew? And have you tried the Baja Blast? They did. Mountain Dew really tried to push the Baja Blast during the Super Bowl commercials when they talked about the alien abductions as well there. So that's kind of the stance that they were taking, I guess, for this flavor. But it's very cool to see brands highlighting this. Marty, we're on the same page. Not a fan of Mountain Dew. Yeah, it's just not for me either. Yeah, not a fan. Actually, we don't have a lot of fans here. Yeah, me too, Android. I'm a fan of no soda. Yeah, I'm also, I mean, for me personally, I just don't love the like tingliness of like the fizziness going down my throat so much, or reading the back and seeing the amount of sugar. That gives me PTSD. Like, I'm like, oh my God, I can't do it. And I love sugar. But when it comes to fizzy drinks, I'm thinking it's not worth it for me. I'll pass. Yes, where is it? Dark Star, that's right. I like Mountain Dew, but it's not going to make Universal highlighting reality. That's true. But DL says, I do like the Baja Blast. I'm glad I got one fan over here. Did you like the advertising for the Baja Blast? That's the question. And while you contemplate that, moving on over to March 25th, that's when we get this image right here, where a UFO was seen at the LaGuardia Airport in New York. And this is the person that we're seeing on screen here is Michelle Reyes, who captured video footage of this mysterious dark cylindrical object while on a commercial flight near LaGuardia Airport on March 25th, 2024, with other passengers reportedly witnessing the incident. And this was highlighted across the news, one of the biggest news stations being News Nation. And this story was pretty high up there for a few months, and then it died down. No one ever talked about it. This particular sighting, it like encouraged me, that's the word. It encouraged me to look at other UFO sightings that have taken place in and around airports, and shockingly enough, there's a lot. Of course, we think of the Chicago O'Hare incident that took place in the early 2000s. That's a pretty popular one, but they've even been seen and reported in China, in Ireland, in the Heathrow Airport in England, across the United States, and a few other countries as well. If you want to hear about UFOs being seen near airports, you can find that episode on this channel right here. Just type it in the search bar and you'll find it. It's actually a very, very interesting episode. Moving on over to April. It wasn't really a big month, but one of the biggest things was that the Ministry of Culture of Peru attempted to raid into the hearing about the Nazca bodies in Peru. So the conference took an unexpected turn when representatives from the Peru's Ministry of Culture, accompanied by police, attempted to intervene, claiming jurisdiction over potential cultural property. And this interpretation, while kind of dismissive, was cited by the presenters as inadvertently validation of the specimen's significance. And then the tension between the researchers and the government authorities underscored definitely a broader conflict over the investigation's legitimacy and control. I do have the live stream on the channel right here. I also wrote an in-depth article on all the times that these bodies have been shown publicly with their research that's also been made public. I will place that link down below, but also for this video, I will write an in-depth article embedding all the links that I can. You can find it on my website at ufonews.co. Something that's worth mentioning here is that these bodies, these specimens have been popping up a lot this year. And I've had the pleasure to speak with those involved in the investigations, a lot of them being scientists. And I will be soon doing an interview with all of them. The interviews are in Spanish, however, there will be accurate English subtitles. That'll be out very, very soon on this channel. So subscribe if you haven't already, because they'll go into detail on their research, analysis, and their backgrounds as well. There's a lot of controversy on these things of people stating, oh, they're just paper mache, they're cakes. And I would just like to highlight this before we move forward. Because as I mentioned, I've had the pleasure to speak with a lot of the people involved. And they stated that when the Ministry of Culture showed or displayed these paper mache dolls, the scientists agree. Those were paper mache dolls. There is nothing to argue about there. They were created by an artist. However, according to the scientists, the ones that are in their possession, which is used to be 12, now it's about 14 or 16 of them, they are legitimate. They have done CT scans, they have done x-rays, they have done DNA analysis, and these seem to be like the real deal. Now, are these actually extraterrestrial coming from a different planet? Depending on the specimen that has been looked at, they have different origins, but they're mentioning that they might be anywhere from 200 to 300,000 years old that are from Earth. And they went through this kind of odd natural hybridization process. I don't want to go too much into detail because it's better to hear it from the scientists themselves, but keep an eye out for it as it will be published very soon on this channel where you can hear what they have to say on this. Moving on over to our next little article, and that's in May. This was interesting. The DOE, the Department of Energy, had a hearing on nuclear energy on May 23rd, but it took a very interesting turn when Representative Anna Paulina Luna asked Jennifer Granholm, aliens, like, what's your protocol when UFOs are hovering over nuclear facilities? This is a common pattern that we have seen over the decades. What's your protocol? And Jennifer, she's the secretary for the DOE, says, oh, you mean like drones? Yeah, we have a protocol. Anna Paulina Luna says, no, no, no. I do not mean drones. I mean UFOs that you know are not drones. What's your protocol for that? And the secretary looked very nervous. She was like, I can tell you in a closed setting. That's very telling. Even though it doesn't tell us much, it's telling that there is a protocol. It's like almost stating no comment. This is noteworthy because some of the more famous incidents where UFOs have been seen over nuclear facilities include the Rendlesham Forest incident back in 1980, the Vandenberg incident, the Maelstrom incident, just to name a few, but there's a lot more. I think it was early this year, there was a report of UFOs being seen over nuclear facilities in India, and the Indian parliament didn't really want to address it publicly. So it goes to show, and I'm really glad that Anna Paulina Luna brought this up in a public setting of like, seriously, what's your protocol? Like, what if it is a legitimate foreign adversary? Just one little weapon and it's game over. That is it, right? So I felt like this was really important to add in our end of the year highlights. And then for those that have seen it, what did you think about this? And if you've heard it for the first time, right here, right now, are you shocked? Or you're like, oh, no, that makes sense why it was brought up in today's age. Let me know in the comments and let me know in the live chat as well. If you're enjoying this year in review, hit that like button right down below as it lets me know if you're enjoying the show. And it is a great way to support the channel. Those likes make this show happen. It really does. So thank you so much for that. Cindy says, I'm back from the skiff, had a great pulled pork sandwich. And that's about it, right? You get the good snacks, but not a lot of information, and the public will always be left in the dark. It's so disappointing because we're the ones that pay them. We're paying them and we can't get information. Ugh, it drives me mad. I am so glad that you're liking the year in review. I feel like they're all so great. I do. Now, June was super chill. Really nothing happened in June. But now we're getting into July because David Grush, we all know who he is from the last year UFO hearing back in July of 2023. It got pretty heated with him because he filed a $2.5 million lawsuit against the London County Sheriff Mike Champin and an unidentified sheriff's office employee because the lawsuit was filed on July 16th of 2024 that concerns the release of Grush's psychiatric evaluation information through a Freedom of Information Act request. Now, while this took place in July, and this lawsuit was filed of saying, hey, those are my medical records. Those are classified. You should not have given those out because when these medical records were given out, a very hefty article was written about him soon after that really brought down his credibility according to a lot of people in the public. When they were reading this report, they were like, I no longer believe Grush. I don't trust Grush and all these different things. When Grush found out about this, he's like, that's illegal. You shouldn't have given out my medical information. So he filed a lawsuit back in July of this year. No further information has been made public. So we don't know what happened, if it went through, any of the updates or the details. All we have is the information that I provided to you, that a lawsuit was filed for $2.5 million, and that's it. We're going to leave that one there. Android says, it's against HIPAA law to release medical records. It sure is. That's right. That's why a lawsuit's being filed for it. Moving on over to August. August is school season. Kids are getting back to school. College students are going back to school. And you know what's really exciting this year is that universities and community colleges are now offering UFO courses. One of them being the University of Michigan, and their course is called UFOs Scanning the Skies Teach Out. It's only 2 weeks. And then also the Portland Community College offers a UFO class called From Film to Real Life, UFOs, UAP, Government, and the Media. And then I'm kind of bringing in all of the school stuff in one little bundle for you. In June, the Rio Ranch public school system in New Mexico had made UFO archives available to students thanks to David Marler. And Marler emphasized in his in an interview that he gave that the goal is not to convince students that aliens are real, far from it. He says that the idea is to teach students how to use critical thinking to analyze UFO reports for inconsistencies and alternative explanations. I love this so much for a ton of reasons, but let me state this one. When we are dealing with school systems, mainly public schools here in the United States, they don't teach you critical thinking. They don't teach you to ask questions. They say your options are A, B, C, and D. Pick one. Do not think outside of the box because no matter what, you will be wrong. When this resource is being made public for students just to look at this in their free time is of course exciting. It brings out my inner child, but also these reports, they're not fluffy science fiction interesting things. They are dry in many respects, and they can be sometimes a little hard to read if you don't know what you're looking for. And also you can just read the explanation of like, okay, weather balloon, I'm going to go throw that in the trash, when in reality the witness didn't actually see a weather balloon, but it was brushed off as that to just make that report as easy to pass on to the next person as possible. When kids are able to use their critical thinking, they're going to be the best kind of adults. So when I came across this news article, I was like, I love this so much. And I really hope that those students are using that resource or having fun with it. And maybe at some point, if it hasn't already, there might be a course on it for the Rio Ranch public school system so that students can ask their teacher about these reports, how to better analyze them, how to better read them and know what to look for, because you need that in your adult life no matter what job you have, no matter what hobby you have. You have to learn how to read. You have to learn how to have critical thinking and what to throw away and what to keep in your mind while you read or analyze data. So, as you can tell, I loved this one. All right. Getting into October. This is okay, from October up until present day, this is when the year is getting insane with UFO news. I mean, like, man, every single day felt like Christmas, felt like Halloween, getting candy at every single stop you go at. It was awesome. Starting off in October, we got this report from the Wall Street Journal on October 12th talking about the Langley Air Force Base. Now, this is so important because it has been mentioned almost every single day since this article came out back in October. Now, while this is talking about drone incursions that took place for 17 days in December of 2023, nobody knew about it until October. And it was emphasized again and again in all of the hearings pertaining to UFOs, placing them on congressional record. But you speak about this to somebody that you know, your neighbor next door, your friend, whatever, and they're like, yeah, dude, I read it. Yeah, I heard about it. It's crazy, right? And I feel like I've covered it at least once a week on this channel because somehow it's always coming up. But one of the biggest things is the term drone incursions. They didn't say UFOs, they didn't say UAP, they didn't say AAV, whatever these acronyms are. They brushed it off as a drone. This is one of the first times this year that we are hearing the term drone. Yes, it took place in 2019 in Colorado, the Catalina Island back in 2019 as well. Reports were written about drone incursions, but people forget very easily. Here, it comes up again, but this time it really solidified in people's minds and the media's mind as well. To now, we're calling everything a drone. We're no longer saying UFO or UAP, even if we don't actually know if it's a drone or not. But this was a really big deal because these objects were seen for 17 consecutive days over the Langley Air Force Base, which is shocking and it can be very scary for the military officials. Something else to mention is that Air Force General Mark Kelly described these, quote, drones as moving constellations traveling at unusually high speeds of 100 miles per hour at 3,000 to 4,000 feet in altitude. Now, this term constellation definitely couples with the Immaculate Constellation that was written by journalist Michael Schellenberger, who was also a panelist for the UFO hearing, the latest one. So I found like that correlation interesting because how often do you use the word constellation in your vocabulary, right? Or as a descriptor? For the most part, your average person, not very often. Yes, there are exceptions. I know someone's going to say, Christina, I do. Okay, you don't count. You don't count. Overall, your average people, your average Joe, they're not going to use constellation consistently. Then we're getting into the hearing that took place November 13th, where you have Tim Gallaudet, Lou Elizondo, Michael Schellenberger, and Michael Gold. This was definitely not as spectacular as the last hearing with Grush, Graves, and Fravor, but it was still, I feel like it was still worth watching in some ways. It felt like a waste in others, especially whenever Michael Gold opened his mouth. I was like, you don't have to be here. You're a cheerleader for NASA that just wants to have your own UFO office. That's what you're here for. That's it. Uh, mm, Mm, I didn't really like it. But then you had Tim Gallaudet, who brought up one really important thing, and that was when he spoke to the Aero office, they tried to tell Tim Gallaudet that what he saw was conventional. There was nothing UFO in nature, like nothing crazy. And when he gave that statement under oath, I thought to myself, Aero sounds like a Project Blue Book 2.0. I I had a little bit of hope then. I'm not as optimistic as I used to be after Tim Gallaudet gave his response to Arrow, and then later we're going to get into the Arrow hearing, which also did not look good either. But I thought that was one of the bigger takeaways, along with a few other things. Android, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. It says the sheriff's office filed to dismiss Grush's lawsuit and the judge refused. So the trial date was set for June 2nd. Mark your calendars. Thank you, Android, for keeping us in the loop as to what's going on, because I didn't find that information. So I really appreciate that. And I am writing it down right now because I think it's so important. June Grush. Got it. It will be on my calendar. Yes, Chris, I actually heard that. Corbell wrote the report. Schellenberger just presented it to Congress. That's where the heat was. I know people were commenting on Jeremy Corbell's face when the report was mentioned to Congress. If anything, I actually found it very weird that a journalist was a panelist for this UFO hearing. Now, it's believed that Schellenberger took the place of Christopher Mellon, who was originally meant to be there, but it didn't correspond with his holiday schedule. So he ended up not being able to make it because this hearing was meant to take place in September, October. However, it took place November 13th after the presidential elections, which at the time I was like, bro, how can you delay it so badly? But after I was like, I'm kind of happy. I'm actually very happy it happened after the elections. People could focus more on the hearing and less on Democrats versus Republicans kind of deal. So I kind of liked that it was thrown back a few months, but that wasn't the original plan. But I know that the Immaculate Constellation, after it was presented to Congress, did go into like some significant heat. It's now become a controversial report, and one of the biggest things is that we don't know who spoke to Schellenberger or to Corbell. Like, the public doesn't know. We don't have a face, we don't have a name. Could this report be BS? Could it be misinformation, disinformation? That's where the skepticism is. And a lot of people, I get it, especially with knowing the history of this topic, where there are always people in the backgrounds trying to be disinformation agents, either for fun, like trolls, or legitimately. It's a hard topic. So, like, I can understand the heat that the Immaculate Constellation has gotten over the last few months. Dan, thank you. It says, can I just add to May when, for the first time ever, Arrow met with Five Eye intelligence partners, US, UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, to discuss UAP. That is actually a really good point. And something else to mention here is that we don't know if it was Kozlowski, the new chief of Aero, because he didn't get into the chair until August of this year. However, Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick resigned in December of 2023. So who was the middleman between Kirkpatrick and Kozlowski, right? Who was doing these interviews is the question. And maybe we'll get those answers in the volume 2 of the Arrow report, of the people that these intelligence partners that were spoken. that spoke to Arrow. I'd like to see that, but when it comes to Arrow, I do not have high hopes for it. That's right, it was Tim Phillips, Android, but he never gave an interview. He never really made himself public. We got one image of him, and that's it. He came and left, and there was no like passing down of the torch from Kirkpatrick to Phillips and then Phillips to Kozlowski. It was all done behind the scenes, and I don't really like that. I don't really care for it. Now, in this hearing, something else that was mentioned is Jared Maskovich had stated right at the very beginning of this hearing, he mentions, we were told to not ask certain questions to certain panelists and to not ask certain questions altogether. And I was surprised and also glad that he made that information public, but it corresponds with what happened to Anna Paulina Luna in August of 2024, where she claimed on the Grant Mitt podcast that after a classified meeting with the Air Force whistleblowers, she believes the reported aircraft are of non human origin and possibly related to interdimensional beings, which is a really big statement coming from her. Now, during this meeting, Luna reported being men in blacked when Pentagon officials attempted to cancel the visit and unnamed government agents shadowed her meeting with the Air Force personnel. Though she didn't specify which agencies those agents represented, but she knows, and she has known for some time now, that wherever she is, whatever she's talking about, she's always being watched. And it was really emphasized in the hearing November 13th when Jared Maskovich stated, all of our questions had to be proofread by somebody else, and we couldn't ask certain questions. Or who knows what the consequences might be, right? Kind of terrible, actually. But I am glad that Anna Paulina Luna spoke about her experience in August on the Grant Mitt podcast. Being men in black is the term that she used. Now, there she is. In the month of November, it was just a hot UFO month, because then on November 15th, 2 days later, we get the Arrow annual report. It was an 18-page document. There were 1,600 cases with varying degrees of resolution. And of these, 49 cases were fully resolved during the reporting period, while 243 cases were recommended for closure, and then a substantial 444 cases were deemed to have insufficient data for popular analysis. However, perhaps more intriguingly, 21 cases remain under active investigation due to their unusual characteristics and behaviors that warrant deeper scientific scrutiny. But this report, it was just like, I felt like it was another kind of eye candy report with pretty graphs, some cute images, really giving the vibes of Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick. We saw it again with Kozlowski. And then if you didn't want to read the report, that's totally okay, because then on November 19th, just a few days later, Kozlowski gives his presentation to Congress. His 18-page paper was summarized in about 7 minutes, actually. You can find that hearing on the channel right here. Look at this guy. He's like, got a little little sniffs. There is Kirsten Gillibrand. The Arrow office is very much like her baby. She didn't really ask any hardball questions, which I don't expect anything less from her when it comes to this. But if we look at this image right here, there is Kozlowski. The first time we've ever seen him publicly. He looks out of his mind terrified. Now, the question is why? Bam! Susan Goff. That's probably why. Now, you will not find this image right here. You will not find it in Google Images. Actually, if you type in Susan Goff, you will not find a recent image of her. You will not. You will find very old images and maybe 3 if you're lucky. And it shocked me because it really felt like she was wiped from the internet, from Google search to be specific, because just a few months ago, there were a lot of images of her. You could find them easily. Now, on Google search, you can't. And I'm like, someone's doing some work in the background. But I like this image. I copied him. I made that image. I thought it was really fun. Put this one over that one. Now, during this hearing, it was a 6-7 minute presentation on his findings. He looked super nervous. And it turns out that the DoD spokesman, Susan Goff, was sitting right behind him. He tries to explain the Aguadilla incident, saying it's just parallax, without really giving any substantial information on how he came up with that conclusion. And it was mentioned, I want to say it was actually by Android, that they should be able to replicate their conclusions of, like, if you think it's parallax, replicate it. How did the Aguadilla case go in and out of the water without a splash, go from one object to two objects, be recorded on infrared, be in the news for years, and then finally you say, you know what, no, it's not real, it's not true, it's parallax? There are flaws. And then on top of that, he gave no information to back up his claims. That was the biggest red flag for me. Max, thank you so much for supporting the channel. It says, every time a bell rings, an angel receives their wings. Every time the deep state fails to answer a question, humanity drops down the Kardashev scale. That was good. That was good. And Matthew, thank you so much as well for supporting the channel. It says, Cristina, thank you. I appreciate that. That is very nice. If you're enjoying the show, hit that like button right down below and subscribe if you haven't already, because if you like UFO news, updates, case studies, interviews, and more, this is the channel for you. So make sure to do those two things right here, right now, before we even move forward. Brian, thank you. It says the best update from our fearless leader. Thank you. I'm glad that many of you are enjoying this review. I spent a whole year researching this topic, and these are the biggest highlights worth mentioning of the year, and we still have so much to go. Actually, even though we're near the end of the year, it's been the last few weeks, the last few months have been intense. And the best way to stay up to date on UFO news is my website, ufonews.co. It's an aggregate site. So anytime UFO news is mentioned across the media, you will find it in one place. You don't have to scroll through your website and endlessly. You can just, to look for UFO news, you can just do it all in one location. It's ad-free, it's free to access. And I also write articles based off of my research as well. Bookmark the website. It is truly worth your time. I made it with very high expectations. I made it with me in mind. Hopefully you can use it as a resource for your investigative purposes as well. Now we are getting into the drone incursions. This, like, the end of November into now, like in the now. Drones are being seen everywhere. Now, they're being called drones. Are they actually drones? I don't think a lot of them are. I think some of them could be. All of them, that's like putting all of your eggs in one basket. That's dangerous stuff to do. Well, they started off in New Jersey. They've branched out to New York, across the Hudson Valley, Pennsylvania, all across the East Coast, being seen on the West Coast. People are DMing me, sending me emails of crazy things that they've been seeing in the sky over the last few weeks. I received a DM from Texas. I've gotten some emails coming from England. I've gotten one from Australia. And if you want to share your pictures and your UFO videos with me, you can email me at Cristina@ufonews.co. That email is in the description box below, because I really enjoy hearing and seeing what you see, what you encounter, and I place them in my archives. Even though I can't always give a super detailed paragraph in written format, I really appreciate you sending me emails and DMs and all these things. So I want to say thank you for taking the time to do that, to consider me. That's so nice of you. When we're looking at these incursions, one thing that nobody is talking about, and I do not understand why, is Project Meteor. We first heard about it publicly back in March of this year, and it is a highly powered microwave weapon system being developed by the US Navy, scheduled for testing on naval vessels in 2026, that emits intense electromagnetic energy beams to disable drone electronics at tactically significant ranges with low per cost efficiency. Why aren't we using them now? I know it can't be until 2026, but I bet you it's already done. At least run some tests, right? This is public information. The Navy is creating this. It is called Project Meteor, but we haven't heard anything about it since. It's weird. And we should be talking about this. Then you have all the drones being seen all the way from Thanksgiving weekend up until today, how the governors have been dealing with this, how the mayors, the sheriff's department in New Jersey specifically, and then how the DHS, the FBI, and the FAA had mentioned weeks later on December 17th of like, hey guys, I know we've been telling you it's not ours, it's not for an entity, it's not for an adversary. But now, you know what? We changed our mind. You know what? Actually, no, it is ours. It is US military. It is hobbyist drones. Just forget what I said a few weeks ago. What the heck? It's so sloppy, their explanations, and it resembles so much of the Roswell incident where the Air Force said, dude, it was totally a saucer, to no, guys, it's a weather balloon, to years later saying, actually, it was a Project Mogul and we couldn't tell you about it back in 1947 because it was a secret project. But now that information has been made public and now we can tell you, our little peasants. We're seeing that exact same thing, the exact same narrative and protocol from 47. Y'all gonna make something new if you're really gonna attempt to deceive us. Like, it's annoying, it's sloppy, and it's lazy. Either give us the answers or shut up. Pick one. I'm a little heated. Here. Then in DC, drones were seen, objects, right? These are two different images from two different angles. These ones, people think it's a reflection from the lights down below. I totally get that. However, this one is a screenshot from a video where this building is actually farther out on the right. You can find that video in one of these several episodes I've done here on this channel. I won't be showing it to you today, but it caught the attention by the media and by the public, where people in DC have mentioned, I've been seeing these every single day for the last few weeks. It's very odd. It's very strange. And I think it's interesting that it's taking place in the US Capitol. Then, more about drones. Alien Invasion Day on December 3rd and 4th, that was created by Cliff High. He is a linguist analysis, and he created his own Weebots back in the 1990s. He's gotten some stuff right, he's gotten some stuff wrong. Like any person that's trying to predict the future, you're not going to be God. You can't get everything right. Not even Baba Vanga or Nostradamus has gotten everything right. And yet people quote them all the time and always looking for their predictions for the future. With Cliff High, he was like, Alien Invasion Day is going to take place December 3rd and December 4th. And while nothing really happened on those days in particular, like it wasn't like in the movie Arrival, for instance, it's odd that a week before, up until present day, people are seeing a lot of strange things in the sky and coming out of the oceans across the world. There was a sheriff in New Jersey that had mentioned that one of his officers saw 50 drones coming out of the water. When I had UFO journalist Fair Hildebrand from Argentina, he mentioned that he received an email from a sailor who saw an object come out of the ocean just a few days ago. Those are just mere examples. Could we be seeing an invasion? I don't know. That's for you to make up your own mind. I'm just providing the information for you. Now, coming up until like the last several days, Jimmy Carter passed away on December 29th. Now, why am I bringing this up? Because Jimmy Carter had a UFO sighting back in 1969. He's always shown an interest in UFOs, one of the many US presidents that have, including Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, both of the Bushes, Trump. Yes, and there's a few others that are probably escaping me, but they've all shown an interest in UFOs. And Jimmy Carter had a sighting, a UFO sighting back in 1969. I did a UFO short on it. That was kind of fun. I actually really enjoyed making it. But there, it's mentioned that he saw this, him and 25 other witnesses saw a luminous object in the sky in Georgia, right next to a school. And it was blinking all these different lights, such as white, blue, and red, like the American flag. But then when he became president, he wanted to release UFO information, according to what he mentioned. However, during this time frame, he faced resistance from both NASA and the CIA director, George W. Bush, who soon after became a president of the United States. So George W. Bush was a CIA director and then became US president. Now, we can assume that George W. Bush knew some stuff about UFOs. Otherwise, he could have just told Carter, I don't know anything about it. We don't research it. We don't care about it. But he didn't. Instead, there was resistance. He's like, I cannot share that information with you. Could you imagine if George W. Bush was the disclosure president for UFOs? Like, that would have been so cool because he had the knowledge being a CIA director. But instead, he didn't do it. Disappointing, but also it wasn't the time. It wasn't really the era for it. And I can get that. But I still feel like I want to be upset about it. Now, Carter died at the age 100. However, he was in the hospice for about 15 months and he was kind of in a vegetable state during all that time. So did he really live to be 100? Don't know. But he had a very serious interest in UFOs. He had his own UFO sighting, and that's why we are mentioning it today. And that's actually how we're ending our year in review, covering from January all the way until December 30th. We got one more day until the end of the year. Who knows what tomorrow has in store for UFO news? But out of everything that was mentioned today, looking at the year in review, what was one of your favorite things about 2024 pertaining to UFO news, and what did I miss? Let me know in the live chat. Let me know in the comments as well. I always enjoy reading your comments when I can. Many of you give me some great insights or some funny commentary as well. And then just as a reminder, on New Year's Day, so January 1st of 2025, I will be doing a live stream. You don't want to miss it. So subscribe and hit that notification bell along with hitting that like button right down below. Before you head out, make sure to bookmark the site ufonews.co. It's not .com, .co, to stay up to date on all of the UFO news that is international. Who knows? Maybe tomorrow something crazy is going to happen. I don't know, but we can only hope and wait and see. I want to say thank you to everyone watching this live, all the super chats, super stickers, YouTube members, Patreon supporters, and of course, all of my amazing moderators. You know I can't do this show without you. That is it for today. I will see you next time. Be safe. And remember, keep your eyes on the skies. If you enjoyed
enjoy the strange and the mysterious, UFOs, the paranormal, and cryptids, this channel is for you. So make sure to subscribe, as I do 3 videos right here every single week, and hit that notification bell so you do not miss any of the bonus content I post right here.